Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first ever episode of Off the Scale, the show where I review albums, but instead of rating them with numbers, I rate them with words because let's just be honest, music doesn't always fit on a scale, and putting a number on it would just not feel right. So today I'm going to be talking about Red Hot Chili Peppers' I think 2022 album titled Unlimited Love. It's not generally the genre or style that I go for, being sort of just normal rock music. If I'm going in the rock direction, I usually listen to stuff that's more alternative or digitized. And I've hardly ever listened to just normal rock music, I guess. The reason I went for this is because one of my best friends told me that it's one of his favorite albums ever. So I figured out that would be a good opportunity to check out just a normal rock band, which is something I don't usually go for. A band that's considered a household name, that's considered sort of like to have a lot of classics, diversify my taste, check out something new, and something that a lot of people love. Now, I will admit before going into this that I was a little hesitant. I was thinking that Red Hot Chili Peppers are sort of a very old band. They're probably gonna come off as old school to me, that it's not something I'm gonna enjoy, but I was definitely positively surprised by what I heard. Just to read something that I wrote down about it, Unlimited Love is a fresh feeling album with an amount of spark which surprised me considering the band behind it has been active for 40 years when it released. I was honestly not expecting much experimentation, variation, and life in a project from a band consisting of three 60-something-year-olds and a 50-something, but they subverted my expectations. The album begins with the most played track to this day, Black Summer, and although it didn't stand out to me personally, it's not for a lack of being good. Black Summer is an energetic, uplifting track about waiting for another black summer to end, which is in reference to Australian wildfires. The fires, in turn, are used as a symbol to sort of evoke memories of the whole disastrous period around COVID. To quote Genius, so many deaths and problems in a short period of time made it seem like a short but extremely sad period in history. A Black Summer. And really, what better way to begin your 2022 album, one named Unlimited Love? It's the band's way of sort of getting back into the world of touring after a hiatus because of COVID, as I read online. And I think this is literally why they titled it Unlimited Love, because they want to spread love to the world. They want to bring back some of the smiles that might have been lost or, halted because of the everything that happened during COVID, the wildfires, the pandemic itself, the lockdowns and everything. As for genre, Black Summer stuck pretty firmly within the confines of what I expected to hear on a Red Hot Chili Peppers album. Kind of just typically rock, but that's not to say that I wouldn't be surprised by the genre innovation later. For instance, One Way Traffic and Here Ever After are two tracks that were pretty damn rappy. Really not something I expected to hear. And look, it's been so long since I really listened to Red Hot Chili Peppers at all, so this could have been a thing of theirs from the start, but I didn't expect to hear rap from like a rock band. Maybe that's just me not being familiar with the genre. Many tracks felt to me sort of average, not particularly noteworthy, but certainly vibey, certainly something I could listen to, certainly something I could see someone loving, given just the right, click in their head. An example of a track that I didn't love was The Great Apes, which came off to me as one of the more boring tracks, but at the same time, it had its qualities of sort of being an anthemic track, which still gave it some charm in my opinion, and even interestingly alternated between sounding sort of nursery-ish and epic in the chorus. And while I'm on the topic of sort of my complaints with the album, I do have to say, which was it? What You Thinking? That was a track with actually really nice vocal melodies that I could see myself bumping, but I was extremely thrown off by some of the vocal processing. It really sounded unlike the rest of the album, very auto-tuned and very unnaturally auto-tuned in just certain notes, not the whole thing. But it really threw me off for a singer that can obviously sing. I don't know how that slipped through their engineers, as this is a studio album. Much less the singer himself or the band probably, reviewing the track before it's released. I felt like a lot of tracks played interestingly with genre less so, but rhythm and melodies more so. Some even switching the tempo, or am I misremembering, but maybe time signature. I felt like there was sort of a lot of playfulness and willingness to try things, which once again was a major point of awe for me, honestly, for a band of 60-somethings, which gave me hope in the older musical generation as somebody who admittedly does not listen to older artists a lot. I guess it's like it just happens to be that way because a lot of my favorites are younger. A lot of my favorites are under 40, under 30. But yeah, this definitely opened my mind a little bit to just because they're older musicians doesn't mean they don't have that spark within them. And I hope this doesn't come off as like hatery. Once again, I'm saying, they changed my mind. I went in there sort of prejudiced and they slapped that out of me. So yeah, now I definitely didn't want to neglect the track Poster Child. I definitely wanted to talk about it. Look, I listened to it sort of trying to read the lyrics and understand what was being said. And it occurred to me that Poster Child is probably a track with a lot of older pop culture references that just aren't in the scope of what I'm used to hearing, aren't in the scope of what I'm very familiar with when it comes to pop culture, and just some references to other bands that I'm not familiar with because that's their world and it's not mine. But the amount of just sheer words in that track, it's a 5-minute, fast-paced, almost a rappy flow track with just so many lyrics packed into it. And I feel like if I understood what was being said more so, like the references, it would be like such a blast from the past, nostalgic, cool track to reminisce upon certain things, from whenever they're referring to. I don't want to say when they were kind of coming up or growing up because I'm really ignorant as to when the references actually occurred, but it does sound very sort of inspired. I'll sort of finish this review by naming some of my favorite tracks, what I love about them. My top 3 has a pretty big variety, which is cool and kind of speaks to what the band makes. There's Aquatic Mouth Dance, which is very groovy. I love the wind instruments that come in and just add that funk in some of the later choruses or whatever. I felt like the last verse went crazy, although once again, I feel like it was probably riddled with pop culture references that just went over my head, but I think it's great. Probably my second favorite would be These Are the Ways, a really energetic, just in-your-face track about their rendition of sort of describing what it's like to grow up in America, some of the craziness. I'm not American, but I think it's fucking cool. I really enjoy how it goes from cheery to grungy and the other way around all over again. It really makes me want to turn up, if you know what I mean, even though I'm not American. And then my favorite track, White Braids and Pillow Chair, was also my favorite title in the whole album. Because listen, what the fuck is White Braids and Pillow Chair, okay? I know you're thinking it, because I was thinking it. But I looked it up, and apparently it tells a story of how the singer or the songwriter saw this old, cute couple at a coffee shop or something, and the lady brought like a pillow for the chair because so it's softer, and then the dude had like some sick white braids in his hair, and the singer was like, wow, goals, hashtag goals. And so he wrote this song about how cute that couple was, and then the whole thing is turned into this metaphor of like, I don't know what I would do without your pillow, sort of really using that as a metaphor for growing old together and still being a cute couple when you're like 80, bringing your pillow for your chair, and the dude with his white hair braided and still, fresh and shit. I think it was a really cute, really sweet song. The lyrics I think were great, and the melodies were really nice, and I enjoyed them. So to wrap up this episode of Off the Scale, I will be rating Unlimited Love by Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I'll be giving them a very interesting album which makes good use of rhythm and melodies and made me reconsider the liveliness of old bands and has some straight up bangers, and White Braids and Pillow Chair is the best fucking track. Out of 10. That's how much I'm giving it. Out of 10. That's my rating. Thanks for watching.